Me time without Fahri.
and to give that act meaning.
8:30 pagi sampai dah
Otherwise,
pukul
you kayak
11 dah
never end and something will not
2.5
quite right.
hours
It's
dah.
just having
Woohoo!
time to get it right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's
Hari Ahad 28 Julai. It's my daughter's birthday Salsabila hari ni. Saya nak pergi walk. Lepas tu nak pergi beli barang baking. Bukanlah untuk nak buat kek Salsabila, tidak. Salsabila nanti tengoklah kita plan apa dengan papa. Nak beli barang-barang untuk chocolate chip cookies lah. Lepas tu lepas walk tu pergi beli barang terus. Tu balik rumah, kemas rumah. Diorang nak view rumah pukul 4 petang ni. Rumah macam tak tahu nak cakap macam mana. Okay lah, bye. Bawa kereta siap-siap, parking kereta dekat luar. So nanti bila dah habis pusing, naik kereta terus pergi cari buat errands kita lah. Okay, jom kita walk. Saya membelakangi matahari, so gelap lah. Tak minum air pun, ya Allah. Dengan kereta pun tak ada air. Haus. Walk cepat gila. Wow, 34 minit je, which is only happen bila saya fit lah. Okay, selalunya bila dah tak fit ni dia jadi 40 minit, 43 minit. Ni 34 minit. Memang laju gila saya jalan tadi. Memang pace sangat laju. Sekejap saya nak pasang podcast ni kejap. Okay, dah connect internet. Saya nak dengar podcast. Wah, bukanlah sejenis dengan podcast ni, tapi because saya nak listen to Pauline Yao. Tahu tak Pauline Yao? If you guys watch MasterChef Australia, you know lah who this lady is. What the great force she is lah. Okay. Pauline Yao, she's a Malaysian. Dia migrated to Australia masa sekolah rendah. Lepas tu dia masuk MasterChef, first ever MasterChef Australia. Dia dapat nombor 2. But from there dia blossom lah, jadi someone very well known personality TV di Australia. Macam people love her so much, and I love her too. Okay, saya tengah nak dengar podcast ni. Okay, jom kita geraklah, kita pergi Segi dulu. Segi, saya nak beli cili kering. Lepas tu pergi cari baking supply dekat Bandar Baru Ampang. Kalau tak jumpa barang yang saya nak tu dekat Bandar Baru Ampang, baru kita pergi back with Yen. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhanalladzi sakhkhara lana hadza wa ma kunna lahu muqrinin wa inna ila rabbina lamunqalibun. Amin. Kenapa nak kena pergi Segi? Sebab cili kering tu untuk saya nak buat chili oil. Ada our regular customer lah. Diorang ni bila habis tu orang top up. Our best friends lah juga, our very very close friends. Dia akan order one each lah, original chili oil dengan garlic, crispy garlic chili oil. So sebab kita guna cili kering ni yang memang beli dekat Segi tu, dia kurang pedas. Cili kering kurang pedas. So kita takut kalau kita guna cili tempat lain nanti dah tak sama kan rasa dia. So terpaksalah kita stick tu, kita dah beli kat situ kan, beli je lah, buat macam mana. Okay, saya nak dengar podcast sekejap.
Is actually developed from all my phenotypes that I had to develop myself.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
They seem quite almost alien. Like,
Yeah.
element.
There is a little bit, yeah.
And were you around at a young age? Were you also drawing a lot? Was there a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah, I started drawing to mimic my brother because I idolised him. He's a really talented artist. It really started when I came to Australia, and I found like it was just such a place of solace for me. Like I identified it right away. Like when I do this thing, it makes me feel like amazing.
Yeah. Was there social capital in Malaysia because of the school?
Yeah, I didn't understand. I had a learning difficulty clearly.
Yeah.
Like now that I look back on it, and because just the times and the culture just not picked up. So I just got through a good part of primary school just not understanding anything. So it was just this fog of confusion all the time. I was just incredibly anxious. And then it caused me to have separation anxiety from my auntie. So going back to your question, Mum and Dad were really busy at work. So the person that kind of saved me was my auntie Kim. So she's lived with my family since my brother was born, who's 3 years older than me. And she's kind of been our primary caregiver our whole life. Because I've kind of grown up with two mums. And I came home to school to her. She's the one that got me ready for school, like plaited my hair, made lunch for me. So she was always there. She was my constant. So it's been a very interesting thing since Mum's passed away, because it's always been really difficult for me, because I shared a room with Auntie till I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
When did your mum pass away?
Mum passed away 2 Novembers ago. So it's just been over a year.
Wow.
Yeah. A bit back. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're grieving at the moment? Do you feel like you...
I think I'll grieve forever. I think you grieve forever for a mum. But there's been some really profound lessons, and I think it's definitely sort of pulling into what I'm feeling is like wisdom is starting to happen for me, because I turned 50 like last December, and it's very interesting because I think there's nothing like proper grief that forces all these learnings that you've had, all these mistakes, and they kind of transform into wisdom when you have the
Kita dah
hindsight.
sampai Segi.
All the bad decisions, everything just suddenly goes,
Jom beli
oh my
cili.
God, okay, I'm...
Dah selesai dah dekat Rakan. Dekat Rakan pula. Dah selesai dekat Segi. Ramai gila orang sebab ada jualan rahmah. Ramailah. Saya beli 3 barang je pun, tapi nak beraturnya terpaksalah hadaplah juga. Okay, bismillah. Kita nak pergi ke Jom Bake kot nama dia. Baking supply punya kedai kat Bandar Baru Ampang.
the right moves. Because to not do so would be like disrespectful or something like that.
Yeah.
But of course you wouldn't. If you hadn't known what was going to happen, of course you'd make different. You didn't know.
Yeah.
And so, but that, I think that is to like.
First time guna jalan ni sendiri.
It did. And as soon as I was like, oh, this is actually very simple. I just have to own that it was a shit decision based on what I knew. But I think based on like my character and who I am and how I know myself, I am a risk taker. So I just took a really bad risk that day and the wrong one, and I'm just gonna have to live with it. And it did actually alleviate a lot of me just recycling the thought in my head. Yeah.
Do you think that's the gateway to accepting and forgiving yourself for all those other mistakes you're talking about?
Yeah, it is. I think like take it to
Hey,
a
boleh.
trajectory for the rest of my life, and it was when I was 32 when I decided to get a divorce, and I was in such an unhappy place. I'm like, I don't know how to
Boleh
get out of
pergi.
this. We've been living together for 3 years,
tahu.
almost like roommates. We hadn't been intimate or anything for years, and we just didn't know how to get out of this like dysfunctional holding pattern, but we were really good mates. And like it was related to the pressures as well because both our families were born, and I think I thought we were going to talk about babies. Yeah.
What a huge fork in the road. But like you obviously had such
Betul
clarity.
kan ni? Betul kan?
Yeah. And so like because of that moment, it's a bit like the enrolling myself in drama classes because of the shyness. It's one of my greatest talents. I can spin any terrible situation into a good one.
It's a great skill. It really is.
Because even like when I was just so amazed when I was going through like the grief of mum, like on the way home. I think it is related to the artist mindset. Traveling home and just feel like I was going to die. I just did not know how I was gonna. I couldn't believe that I just missed this such a defining moment.
But it felt like a nightmare. Like
It did. Yeah, it absolutely felt like a nightmare. And I remember immediately being incredibly, like, acutely aware of the kindness of strangers. It was like, because I was in so much pain, my senses were like really tuned into these things that I would usually probably never notice. So like, I remember getting on the plane.
Sampai dah jomblo. Jom kita tengok apa ada.
Came up to me and did this like she rocked up and I turned around and
Jom bake. Tadi beli dari segi cili kering wangi, kurang pedas. Ni kita gunakan untuk kita punya chili oil. Jom bake. Dah beli dah barang-barang, ambil cookies. So kita dah jumpa lah tempat yang boleh beli dekat kedai je, tak payah beli online. Masa ni saya beli online. White chocolate coin. White chocolate coin. Ni dah cukup ni. Alamak. Macam salah je. Oh no. Ni bukan white chocolate kan? Alamak. Tukar sekejap lah. Ini yang betul kita nak beli white compound. White, bukan milk. Bukan milk compound. Milk compound tu still chocolate lagi, tapi dia chocolate milk. Chocolate milk lain, dark chocolate lain. Yang ni white lain, putih. Okay, boleh tukar. Tapi sebab nak bagi sama harga dengan yang tadi, dia tak nak returnkan kita punya cash. Tak nak refund cash kita tambahlah benda ni. Butterscotch. Kita cubalah, bolehlah buat ni. Tengok apa rasa dia. Okay, so inilah barang-barang shopping kita. Yahoo, jom balik. Sekarang pukul 10.30 dah. Ya Allah, seronoknya keluar 8:30 keluar rumah, sekarang dah pukul 10:30. Okay. Dia dah detect ke belum saya punya internet ni? Okay, bismillah. Kita nak balik dah. Tapi macam adalah dalam kepala tu salah kenakal nak cari tosai lah, apalah. Oh, tapi kita nak cari air kelapa untuk Salsabila. Air kelapa, air kelapa. Anak saya demam. Hari ni birthday dia. Tak sih. Oh sayang, apa tu? What was that? Apa tu? What was that? Sekejap saya check sekejap berita. Dengar something. Tak tahu benda apa. Bunyi plastik kot, macam plastik tu meletup. Alah. Okay, sekarang saya tak tahu nak keluar kat mana. Mesti balik kat sana lah Kita pergi area Bukit Indah je, cari apa nama tu? Oh, isi minyak tadi lah. Kita pergi Bukit Indah, isi minyak dengan cari air kelapa. Wow, banyaknya barang aku nak bawa naik ni, mampus. Boleh kan nak pergi situ. Okay. Namanya ni, oh ada air kelapa kat situ kan. Namanya lampu merah ni. Come on, dah kena cek ke belum? Nak connect tu, connect lah.
That's all we do.
Yaris, kat depan ni Yaris, my dream car. Yaris.
And it was funny because then after that,
InsyaAllah dapat naik Yaris one day.
I'm like,
Amin.
yes, still able to laugh. And after that,
It was. Yeah, still very hard. That's still,
it's like
even
putting out.
with the
Yeah.
explanation, it's still like, God, to actually do it in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's incredible. Yeah.
Maybe there's something wrong with me. But you know, I get over trauma quite well, but I've also realised recently that I have a terrible memory, and maybe that's
I do as well. I feel like we're very similar in many ways.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone through things like that. But Jam and I, my partner Jam and I, we were talking the other day, and she's like, you don't really feel things like other people. And I was like, I think you're right.
Isi minyak
I
sekejap.
think I'm a sociopath. But
Dah siap isi minyak for the week. Okay. Bismillah. So kita nak beli air kelapa dan bolehlah kot bawa beli something sikit for people at home.
myself after having made that decision.
Yeah.
So I think because it had hit such a low point,
Ada pula
it just
kelapa.
was very clear. Yeah.
This could be a really
I do.
deeply relatable moment for anyone listening who is feeling like they're in a relationship but they haven't really ever questioned. They just know that they're not happy and they know that,
Yeah.
and they don't recognise themselves, and they have
Oh, ada.
they have a memory or a vision of themselves for the relationship that they love, but that's gone. I feel like that is, you've just given a equally insightful moment to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think you can choose.
And further, like, on from that, do you feel like you were a different person? Like, did you change after you left that relationship?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think I did. The thing that's very unusual about that relationship also is that I still love Matt so deeply. He's like still my ride or die. So he's actually my agent. He's my closest confidant. We own Jamface together.
Oh wow.
And
okay.
we are still knitted very. We have this creative symbiosis that I have like no one else.
I feel like this is the most mature thing I've ever heard. like because it's such a mature. Because you would think, like, my immediate thought goes to like, well, I can never trust you again. But clearly, you were able to get past that and clearly have a business with someone, have them be your agent. It's like, that's insane trust, and I'm so in awe of that ability to be able to just go like, oh well, don't take it personally. This is not about, you know, whatever the thought process was, and then to be able to be mature enough to be like, no, we can still have a relationship.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was so good because we could throw all the bad things into the garbage and then like keep all the good things. And I think there's something so powerful to be said about history. You know, when you have history with someone and to be able to remember what made you love them in the first place.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful thing to be able to hang on to. However, I always premise this with, we didn't have kids. I think that's a big factor. Because I think that absolutely complicates things when other partners come into play.
Yeah,
It
nak
gets
nampak
really
ni.
complicated, and I completely understand. And the other thing is both exes have to be willing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
shit.
Yeah, true.
So if one's being a dick and the other one's wanting to resolve things, it doesn't work. Yeah.
So was there, this is maybe strange considering the exact circumstances, but was there an element of like relief when he was with someone, even though it was with your friend, with someone else?
Well, I was actually relieved that it was with her in the end because I really love her.
Unbelievable.
And like,
Like, who are you? I know. But if there's an award ceremony, you feel comfortable? This is a mature award. Is he going to clean sweep it?
like, I just think I don't want to be with you, so why shouldn't he be happy? And do you know, it gives me so much joy. There's one time I was over at the house, and I was actually working on Matt's computer for some reason, like a computer now, and they were just hanging out in the kitchen, going through like a fashion catalogue and just paying the crap out of all the fashion in it, and they were laughing their asses off. And it literally gave me warm fuzzies. I thought I could never bring that out of him. Like, we just were the wrong combination.
Wow.
You know? But he brings out different things in me. And like, it's really interesting. I feel like if I hadn't met Matt, I wouldn't have accomplished half the things that I've done in my life, because he pushed me to the brink always, and that is the thing that has given me courage. It's very interesting. I think if someone had
Shit lah, bodoh lah. Bukan aku sini. Boleh pakai situ marah-marah. Nampak lagi aku sini.
Something like sign up for a membership or there's all these things that I've done where he's just always been such a great enabler and never really checked. And I'm not going to cast aspersions on him, which is of course, but for me it was never right, and I just struggled with it so much. And he was the one that said, you know, anything that, you know, you have deep conviction in and you've got like, you know, and you want to break out of something, it's always going to feel awful and you're going to upset people. You're going to have to learn that life is that. Like, you can't be a people pleaser and make yourself happy as well, always. And like, good things come in difficult packages. Like, get ready to get comfortable with feeling comfortable if you want to achieve extraordinary things in your life, you know. And going against what my parents wanted, which was like to stay in church and marry, all those kinds of things, and be like, you know, a good church member. Like, he's like, because when we got married, we decided not to do it the church way, and that's when we also decided to part with the church.
This is the church of
Mormon church,
Mormon
yeah.
Was Matt Mormon?
Yeah, that's how we met. And I remember him just telling me this, and it's just so imprinted in my brain. He's like, all those cultural conventions and stuff that you feel loyal to, he's like, you're going to have to fight those. Like, you're in Australia now, if you want to do things you want to do, and be the person you want to be, you're going to have to like, push it. Yeah, it's going to be hard.
I was going to ask you, a great example, but the pushing to the brink I often think is a negative expression.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I feel is very one of the wisdoms. I see all these like patterns, like I've been around long enough now, going through these patterns. One of them is not to ever defy the natural order of things. Okay?
Can you explain?
So that's one of my philosophies, which is like, you can't want to be things that's like a byproduct. You have to just want to be doing what you something that you love to do. And then like, if you become over it, then great.
Yeah.
But it's just
Also, that's the natural order.
yeah, that's natural order. Yeah. Everything has
It's a rare, I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of people happen on those.
yes, they can cheat the natural order.
Dah siap beli air kelapa dan beli keropok leko sebab Fahri suka keropok leko. Banyak gila barang. Alah, kenapa lah encik parking belakang saya, encik? Sekejap, kita nak setting internet lagi. Let's go home. Eh,
an old way of living that we're missing out on because it's just so much convenience in our lives that makes us really discombobulated, but we don't realize it. And I feel it's that dissonance that causes a lot of like mental health issues. So I think like even just hard yakka, like working in the garden is so good for you because it's like, oh my god, some people do this for a living. Like they have to, like when I go to the farmers market, I see these like fruiterers that drive 3 hours from, you know, the riverland to sell fruit for like hardly anything, and then fruit fly comes and they have to like get rid of all of it, and I'm just like, people work really hard. Some people have to work so hard for their money, and even little things like going to the supermarket and how we just want to just buy one segment.
They'll take the whole thing. It's a nightmare in getting to the boot, but yeah.
7 test fruities. I feel like there's always something. It never quite works out in the end, and
it's almost like don't take the shortcut or something.
biasanya me time.
Yeah, I think there always has to be a feeling of sacrifice.
Me time without Fahri.
And to give that act meaning.
8:30 pagi sampai dah
Otherwise,
pukul
you can't
11 dah
have
kan.
an end and something will not
2.5
quite be right.
hours
It's
dah.
just having
Woohoo!
time to get it right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. I think it's for me, would say cooking, for example. Like there's the two aspects to it. That
Josh is very good, by the way.
Oh.
I'm not very good, but I'm not very good, but I love doing it. And
Extremely
let's cook in Australia. But I'm thinking about the chicken example.
Yeah.
Of like when I learnt how to joint a chicken properly. Suddenly, every time I do it, I get a sense of
Like the normal world seemed really scary to me, and in the church
Saja
there's all
slow
these
drive.
things about like
Macam tak nak sampai rumah cepat sangat.
So I just felt like very safe.
a safe way to interact with
moral
boys.
wise, like with the morality of the church, I just felt like it was just this sort of really safe environment for me to do that in, and that really appealed to me. And also it was just such a wholesome environment that I had never really, I guess I'd always yearned to be part of a community, you know, feeling that, like I told you, I just always felt a little bit like, you know, on the outside. And it was just such a welcoming, have you seen the South Park episode
Of the Mormon.
of when Kyle gets fellowshipped? It is so that, like, you just feel so like, oh my god, what's going on? This is amazing. Everyone's so beautiful.
Yeah,
Like, you really
yeah.
feel that.
Accepted.
And it's just so, it's just so wholesome, you know. So that really appealed to me.
Yeah, of course. And that sounds great.
Yeah. And I think because we didn't have that kind of family, which was like everyone's very cuddly, and it's just like this. It was just sort of a very sitcom version of families in my head that I saw around me.
And so then, conversely, obviously you met Matt, and then you both left. Is it because you're like, oh, okay, well, I met someone. Don't need the dating service anymore.
No, it's because before I met him, I went travelling. I actually went to Utah to essentially look for a husband when I was 19.
When Utah is like a lot of Mormons live in Utah.
Yeah. It's like the more capital world.
Yeah.
Ended up going to Canada, and then it was like I landed. My first best friend was trans. It was like my world just got turned on its head, like within a second. And suddenly my everything was seen through a different lens. And I was really a bit that way inclined because I have I love people and I love stories, and I just love like mixing with people from all different walks of life. So Canada was just like this, you know, like a candy shop for me. It was just, it's so multicultural, you know what I mean? Like where I work, there was like, I had Chinese.
Having kids.
Yeah.
Is kids something that you had thought about? Like, is this a conscious decision you've decided, or like something you've worked on? Okay.
Yeah, ish. So Matt and I always thought no kids because we could sense that the volatility was unstable. And then Jono really wanted kids.
So Jono's your second husband?
Yes, second husband. Yeah. And I wasn't sure at the time because I was sort of starting to creep into early 40s. I was starting to get a little bit worried because it was my first go at it.
Yeah.
And the sort of risk time if it's your first
Sampai
child
dah
and
rumah.
older. Like if it's your
Oh,
second child and
really?
older, yeah. For some reason the cogs are already a little bit
Oh.
boiled and your body is more receptive.
Yeah.
So and I did accidentally get pregnant, but then I lost the baby exactly on the 12-week mark.
Oh god.
Yeah.
So sorry.
And oh, thank you. I was I just did my thing. I just processed it head on. And
Kita naik
and
dah
then got
lapar.
pregnant again. But I do.
I had a
feel
great time.
I felt-
Walking, driving
I feel
around,
really thankful
run
that I went
errands.
through that,
Thank you,
even though
Allah.
It was harrowing at the time.
Mm.
Like I have so much gratitude